¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome everybody. Hambalus, Mr. Blast, how's everyone? I'm hanging out. I'm chilling. Happy Trump indicted Tuesday. Indeed, we have a lot on that development. The fourth time, the fourth time indicted president in history, American history. We'll definitely be talking about that and what that involves, and as well as the names of all the co-conspirators, I guess. Because it looks like this one's a serious one. This one's serious. Hambliss, how's it going? I just went into a new Twitch channel I saw that looked interesting and immediately get ads. 1 of 8? Oh, God. Ads are fine, but come on. 8 ads and then a 10-minute follow to chat? Yeah, that's a bit rough. Unfortunately, Twitch likes to make the user experience as bad as possible. So they decide to blast ads. What I normally do, except I forget a lot of the times, is that I try to play ads at the beginning of the stream during the starting soon screen, because if I do that, then it gives you a grace period of like an hour or 30 minutes, I forget, depending, I guess, on how big the ad is, of free ads. So like people can just come in after the countdown is done, because we did the ads at the beginning, so at least it gives you like half of a good chunk of the stream, and you don't have to come in the first 10 minutes, because it's just literally just waiting for everybody to kind of pile in here. Alio, how's it going? Good fourth indictment of Trump, a RICO charge, yes. Jury duty pool day usually, but this time I was sitting next to a QAnon and have to pay the the cab ride back. Yikes, with a QAnoner? Sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's adjustable. Got it. Yeah. I'm looking at it here. Where did my play ad thing go? Whatever. It's in my little stream deck. I can just play that. The point being is that, yeah, the ads on Twitch are ridiculous, and Twitch has made it part of their policy to make the user experience as terrible as possible. So, yeah, it is what it is. Almost Candace Owens. I wanted to pick up the judge. Oh dear. Yikes. Like, you saw that? Like, in the court? Also, as predicted, Trump won't shut up and is violating speaking orders already. Not surprised. I mean, like, why is this guy not in jail? I mean, do you know how much, like, preferential treatment this dude is getting? The guy, under any other normal circumstance, anybody else, literally anybody else, would be in jail. They would literally just be in jail. Other than like campaign, other than like campaign ads, the last thing he's tweeted about an hour ago is him basically doing like more stochastic terrorism, saying that, quote, we believe we have a compromised president. He was bribed, and now he's being blackmailed by who? He's a Manchurian candidate. That's why Crooked Joe is letting other countries walk all over the U.S. No idea what that even means. All of these Biden administration bogus trials and cases. The trials hasn't even started, my dude. And they're not like Biden administration cases, okay? Like, Biden isn't the prosecutor. That's not how this works. And yes, we are not in normal or usual times. True. Like, yeah, anybody else, literally anybody else would be in jail. He will never go to prison. At best, house arrest in $1 million mansion we call being in a prison. Yeah, maybe. But it's not just like, the point, Alio, is not just that Trump isn't president, right? Is that there's some accountability, right? Because, like, you literally just cannot do this type of shit. Like, you can't just, like, try to overthrow elections and there be no consequences, right? You can't just, like, shoehorn fake electors in the attempt in several states, not just Georgia, but in several states, to overturn the results. Like, you just cannot do that without any consequences, right? Like, because it's not just like about Trump, right? Because anyone else could come along and like basically do the same thing, right? Because nothing is going to happen. So that's why consequences are important. That's why accountability is important. Regardless of who he is, it doesn't matter. Like, you wouldn't want a precedent of like people attempting to overthrow like elections every time because there's no accountability, right? Like, you don't want that to be like a normalized behavior. The Secret Service ex-president, he can't be anywhere near Gen Pop. You can hate him, but there's realities to deal with here. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Just, I don't know if you can, but can you revoke, like, Secret Service to him? Or is that something that Congress has to do? Because, like, Congress is not going to do that. Hello, Today account. In Boston May schools, meet a black Mexican honor, and he was not humble. Jury duty. Oh, so gotcha. Okay, so this happened in your. That's why accountability is important, as ADT's country overthrows dozens of democratically elected governments since 1945. Here's a question: what the fuck does that have to do with the conversation at hand? What do you want about? You hello, Today account. What does that have to do with anything? He can't be exposed like that if not if for no other reason that he still knows secrets, which he gladly showed he had no freaking no freaking regard for responsibility. So as he's being investigated for that. So here's a solution. Just put him in the fucking shoe. Put him in complete isolation. Put him in complete isolation where he has no access to anybody except his lawyers. There you go. 18 other people are charged. Yeah, a lot of people. More than a dozen for sure. More than a dozen. Disco Panzer, hello. Alright, so my time here is limited. So I guess we should just get started, right? Being an enlightened Twitchable thinker is hard. Making any coherent points is hard, I guess. I don't understand what the point of the other comment was. All right, let's start. Let's start.
Well, folks, turns out that Mitch McConnell's health problems might be even worse than we had already discovered they were. Obviously, last month...
What are your thoughts on rent control and who would help Bernie with that? I think Howard Stern would be an ally in this fight for underprivileged community. Howard Stern? What? I mean, to my understanding, no one in the Senate is going to propose any rent control. I think that rent control is. I think that rent control has a position to play, but the reality is it's the problem goes beyond just implementing rent control. There are other things that have to go along with it too, but I don't know if there's any national willingness up on the part of the Senate, much less the House, to take that on, unfortunately.
Mitch McConnell had the freeze up press conference where he just didn't speak, didn't move, and they finally had to kind of usher him away. And later in that afternoon, of course, he said, "No, fine, just they sandbagged me," he said. But then, after that, reports came out telling us that Mitch McConnell has actually taken far more falls this year, including one described as falling flat on his face, than we had previously known. And now a new report from Politico tells us that Republicans in the Senate are, of course, terrified over how poor his health actually is. So even though we didn't know about the falls that we do know about now, the Republicans that work with him every day are now saying it's even worse than you think. And one of the specific issues they point to is the fact that Mitch McConnell, according to these Republicans, is apparently losing his hearing. They specifically said, we'll be at a lunch, everybody's sitting around, we're all having these conversations, McConnell's in the middle, and he has no idea what anybody's talking about. He's aloof, he doesn't hear anything even when you try to address him. He's just sitting there. So that could be a hearing issue.
My Weird Uncle, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
And if that is a hearing issue, okay, you can get the implants, you can, learn American Sign Language if you want. Like, losing your hearing does not in any way disqualify you from serving in the Senate, nor does it really hinder you that much. I mean, that's a
Bipedal meatbag, how's it going? These 81-year-olds, what do you expect? True.
relatively minor thing compared to the other health issues with McConnell, but that's the one issue that they're pointing at, to the point where one Republican says that they've spoken to his staff and suggested that he get, hearing aids or implants to hear better. But here's the thing. If Mitch McConnell was sitting around in a group of people, they're talking to him, he sees them all talking, and then he sees them looking at him and he doesn't respond, or he doesn't say, "I'm sorry," that to me doesn't signal a hearing issue, right? That kind of seems indicative more of a cognitive issue. Like, he doesn't understand what's going on.
Margot Cabot, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
And if that's the case, then obviously that's a serious thing. Losing his hearing, again, that's not disqualifying by any stretch of the imagination. But if he cognitively cannot register that people are talking to him, then we've got serious problems ahead. I think the overall takeaway from all these stories about Mitch McConnell's health, however, is actually far more serious than that. This will be Mitch McConnell's last term in the Senate. Like, I think we're all understanding that this is the end. The question is, can he serve out the rest of his term? Because I don't think he can. I don't think he will.
I mean, if Feinstein is like literally being like wheeled around, if Feinstein is literally being wheeled around, I think he's gonna finish his term. Does not Mitch have a retirement plan? Probably. He's a senator. As long as Gates or Marjorie Taylor Greene does not replace him, it doesn't matter. Well, neither of those, Gates or Marjorie Taylor Greene, are senators. Neither of those are senators, but it doesn't matter, right? Because it doesn't matter which Republican replaces them, they're still Republicans, right? It's still a bad deal. Alia with the 11 biddies. Thank you so much. Free housing is needed. True! Government incentives for low cost, meaning low quality housing, is not working. I think housing is an area like healthcare and capitalism can't solve. We are being stupid as a country again. True! Food, housing, education, healthcare, so on and so forth.
I don't think he'll make it that far. Then the question becomes, what happens to Republicans in the Senate when McConnell is gone? McConnell has been in that Senate seat since I was 2 years old. He is the leader of those Republicans. He keeps them in line even when they don't want to be in line. He has always somehow managed to do it. He is the architect of the right-wing takeover of the court system. He's the tax cut guy. He's the deregulation guy. He's the guy who just fended off Rick Scott's attempt to overthrow him to the point where Scott got kicked off his committees by Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, as evil as he is still the grown-up in the room in that Senate.
That's not what I would use to describe him. The GOP replaces Mitch with a worse candidate? I mean, maybe. Kentucky governor can replace him with a Democrat. Yes, if he, the Kentucky Democrat is, the Kentucky governor is a Democrat, so technically, in the event that he would step down, then yes, technically he could. But I'm gonna be honest, I think he is gonna serve out the rest of his term. I mean, like, you have like Dianne Feinstein, like being fucking wheeled around and told, to vote aye or whatever. Like, I'm pretty, and she's older. I'm pretty sure he's gonna finish his term. Like, just so so it is. McConnell is worm-tongued, yes.
And once he's gone, it creates this vacuum. And somebody is going to sneak in there and take that power, and we could be looking at somebody far more extreme than Mitch McConnell. Not saying I want Mitch McConnell to stay there by any stretch, but whenever these Republicans, move on, lose their seat, they're typically replaced by somebody far worse than what came before them. And that is the scary part. That's what we're looking at with Mitch McConnell, and it's a reality that we may actually have to be dealing with a lot sooner than we had thought. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it...
I mean, here's a question. While that is true, that most likely, when the day comes that he stops being the Republican leader in the Senate, I mean, the question really is not, will they replace him with somebody worse? Obviously, they're Republicans. They're Republicans. The question is, will that person be as effective? Will that person be as effective in enacting like horrible legislation, right? Will that person understand? Will that person understand the politics and how to maneuver their way into getting shit done like McConnell? I'm fine with that. Where's this eater spawn? McConnell evil is slow, long-term Supreme Court corruption shit. Right, which is manifesting. This is like decades of work, right? Just kind of manifesting here. So that's the question. Like, obviously the person that's going to end up replacing McConnell is going to be worse, right? The Republicans. But will that person know how to do the things that McConnell did? That's the question. And the silver lining is probably not. Whoa, hey, come on.
I'm Cleta Mitchell. Hello, I'm Cleta Mitchell.
Are you afraid of Cleta Mitchell?
Cleta Mitchell, thank you. That was really interesting.
The most important conservative in Washington.
Cleta Mitchell, heavy hitter.
Wouldn't you say, Cleta?
Well, maybe you should be.
What we're seeing in North Carolina is that the proposed legislation puts roadblocks in the way of voters.
The Republican Party depends on its legal apparatus to execute a strategy of disenfranchisement and election subversion. And Cleta Mitchell is...
I mean, like, nothing is... election subversion, nothing is more evident than the cases being brought forth. Nothing has been more evident than the cases being brought forth. Mitch did help with corrupt SCOTUS candidates. Yes, among other federal judiciary nominations, but he has not gotten anything done except pander to the MAGA. No, he's gotten a lot of shit done. The reason why the Supreme Court is the way it is because he did it. He did that. The reason why the federal judiciary got as fucked as it is because of him. So no, he has gotten things done. Absolutely. Do not underestimate that guy.
is at the heart of that.
This is the story of a lawyer and a former state rep from Oklahoma who went from this
I always have, and I always will, put the people first.
to this.
I say to people, I'm the consigliere to the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Cleta began her career in politics as a Democrat.
Jesus. If you can't win, cheat. Democracy was always just a patronizing idea for the masses to people like this. Yep. I'm not willing to say the U.S. is 99% evil or corrupt yet. I mean, there's a lot of corruption in this country. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's so much corruption. There's so much corruption in this country. And it's all facilitated by, well, capitalism. That there's no other way around of saying it. The massive concentration of wealth into fewer and fewer hands over time has allowed this kind of feedback loop where rich people have way more say and way more power and influence, and it just kind of keeps it's like a feedback loop, right? Rich people get richer, they pour more money into politics, and that influences the type of legislation that affects them directly. More wealth gets concentrated into fewer and fewer hands, and then the cycle continues, right? They use that to to buy politicians who will continue the circle. It's the same. It's just the same old. Trump donors and MAGA helped. I mean, oligarchs who help both Republicans and Democrats are all kind of involved in this, right? Because they have to be. I mean, like, Trump literally boasted about donating to Democrats and Republicans. To be fair, corruption existed or exists without capitalism, but capitalism doesn't help. I'm saying the current kind of like iteration of what we're seeing is undeniably being driven, or at the very least exacerbated by capitalism. I mean, corruption is corruption, right? I'm saying, like, the level of this, the size and scale and scope of what we're looking at, of like this kind of like self sustaining loop is kind of being powered by it, so to speak.
Democratic state legislator in Oklahoma.
I was a Democrat, but, I believe in redemption.
She went on to become the go-to election attorney for Republican candidates and represented special interest groups like the National Rifle Association. A former senior NRA official recalled her as the fringe of the fringe. She's pro-unlimited corporate spending in politics.
The Citizens United decision. I just think that this is a wonderful decision.
She's anti...
Sheesh. I mean, if that doesn't tell you anything, I don't know what else to say, right? Like, the philosophy that, like, you should be able to spend an unlimited amount of money in elections because you're rich. I mean, that's kind of like case in point, right? That's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. I've got stories of corruption, no doubt about it. I don't doubt you.
Labor.
But the labor union movement has evolved today into a single-minded force that is destroying work.
And she's pro-election denialism.
They call us election deniers. We're not denying there was an election. We just deny that it was conducted according to the rules.
That's not what that means, and she knows it. And where's the checks and balances if Trump does not get convicted? Well, if Trump doesn't get convicted, I mean, we can't really do anything about it, right? It kind of went through the process, right? So she's playing semantic games. Of course an election happened. Nobody's calling them election deniers because they're denying the existence of an election. They're being called election deniers because they are denying the results of the election. That's it. They're literally delusional. This is delusional talk. And she's about to say, we just denied that it was conducted according to the rule of law. Completely delusional. There's no evidence to suggest this, and it has been proven not only just in court, but everyone who has looked into this from courts, from top to bottom, have found that actually there's no evidence to any of these claims. So it's literally just like delusion. Fuck you, on board here. Let me help you. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. How about that? Production is up again for like the 4th decade in a row. So clearly labor is destroying capitalism. True. It's highly unlikely that Trump goes to prison anyway. That may be the case. That may be an outcome.
Law.
And she was on Trump's infamous Georgia call.
All we have to do, Slade, is find 11,000 plus votes.
After that.
No way. This was the person on the very perfect phone call. I did nothing wrong, and they indicted me, even though there's fucking phone calls and evidence. Really? Is she on the fucking list of conspirators? There's 19 defendants. Is there a list? Where is it? But even if he goes to prison, he could do what Debs the Socialist did and run from a cell, and if he wins, he can get himself out. That's true. There's literally nothing preventing that. Here, I think hold on. Ray Smith, Misty Hampton, Scott Hall, Kathy Latham, Sidney Powell, the Kraken Lady, Trevian Cutie, Harrison Floyd, Stephen Lee, Sean Still, David Schaefer, Mike Roman, Robert Cheeley, Jenna Ellis, and Jeffrey Clark, which is the... Holy shit, Jeffrey Clark? Nice. Kenneth Chesbrough, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and Trump. Okay, got it. No, she's not on this list. He did the equivalent of what he bragged about. He walked down Main Street and shot someone, and then they would still... yeah, he said he could literally kill somebody and they would still vote for him. If COVID had not happened, Trump would have won. That's true. If the change to universal mail-in ballots had not happened, then Trump would have won. Do not get me wrong. I think Trump is the worst president we have ever had. I mean, maybe if Trump didn't motivate so much, like, how do I say this, hate against him, because there are there's several factors here that played, that made the perfect scenario for 2020. COVID, for one, made a real mess of things. For two, Trump was just down in the gutter when it comes to like approval ratings after being in office for several years, and people just wanted him out. And three, yes, the expansion and the access to universal mail-in ballots, which made it easier for people to vote, made it more likely that he would lose.
Phone call, she lost her position at a big national law firm, and she was kind of picked to head up this project, the Election Integrity Network.
Leica Shupek is the state outreach director at Documented, an investigative watchdog group tracking people like Cleta Mitchell and their efforts to influence our election processes.
That's just wild. Nobody thought he would win the first time. He surprised us. I really think it's that simple. That also may be the case. Not to put it, just to put it out there, Trump can run from a cell no matter what kind of conviction he gets, even if federal conviction rather than a state one would not stop him. Yeah. That's true. That's true. There is like a certain crime that he can get convicted that would not allow him. I think it's something to do treason. Treason. There's like one specific crime that would not allow him to run. Apathy. Yeah, I mean, apathy was a part for the 2016 election. That might have been a factor too. Maybe or maybe not. What, that he can run? No, he absolutely can. There's only racketeering. I don't know if racketeering would prevent him from running. There is a specific charge that you cannot run if you get convicted. There's a specific charge. Sedition, maybe. It's sedition or something to the effect of like treason. in that type of ballpark. But yeah, he could still run. Absolutely. There's nothing stopping him from running. If he gets convicted of any of the crimes that he's currently being accused of, at this time, with the crimes that he's being accused of, none of those would prevent him from running, and none of those would prevent him from assuming office if the hypothetical happens where not only does he make it through the primary process, which is most likely the case, but he has to win the general election. Yeah, there's none of that's gonna none of that's gonna prevent him from running or even from assuming office. Trump has finalized that there is 68 million votes Trump gets next year. It may be the case, okay? Right now, that's neck and neck. Okay, so do not underestimate this guy. With racketeering, the minimum is a 5-year jail term, and he can't pardon that. It doesn't matter. He can still run, and he can still win. He could still win. Unless the GOP approves the 25th Amendment, they're not going to 25th Amendment him. It's the Republican Party. They're not going to 25th Amendment. If they didn't 25th Amendment him in 2020 when he was causing all that chaos, if they did not 25th Amendment him then, they're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. This is just the worst case scenario. Yep. If he loses, it's 4 more years of stolen election. True. If he loses, I think these people are gonna do something crazy. If he loses, especially it being a close especially it being a close race, I think these people would do something. Even if it was a state conviction, the courts would almost certainly issue an abeyance, especially for a southern state. The governor is not going to pardon him. The Georgia governor is not going to pardon him. But are Congress and their hands clean? No, Congress is not going to do anything to Trump. Like, Congress is not going to do anything. Congress is full of Republicans. What is Congress going to do?
Donald Trump had really created this upsetting, disruptive energy by promoting all these election lines.
That we won this election.
We won
it by a landslide.
We won it by a landslide.
Integrity Network was really formed to sort of capture that grassroots energy and turn it to the kinds of purposes that they wanted, particularly by pushing voter suppression measures.
You know, I didn't serve in the military. And I feel like this is my military. I really do feel as though it's my patriotic duty.
But the Election Integrity Network is just one part of a much larger web.
The Election Integrity Network is the project of the Conservative Partnership Institute, which is, a big policy shop, think tank, everything you could think of for the MAGA Republican side of things.
When you take a stand here, you have to know someone has your back.
They support me when the pressure is on.
CLEDA is on the board of the Public Interest Legal Foundation. That's something that was pre-existing and was known to sue states to purge people from the voter rolls. She's also connected to the Bradley Foundation, which is a huge foundation with tons of money that they funnel towards conservative causes. So
I mean, like, this kind of stuff is so important to understand how, like, this apparatus works. Because this is how these fucking fascists move. It is incredibly important to understand this. Unless Congress are discovered of crimes in the new indictments, no, there's no Congress. No Congress members have been indicted. No Congress members have even been mentioned. Except for state representatives, I believe, maybe. But no, none of them have been found. Like, there are GOP people that are being indicted, but none have to do with like the federal Congress. If If Georgia convicts him, they'll throw him in jail. No pardon is possible. Even if the Georgia governor wanted to pardon him, Trump would have to first sentence and then request a pardon. Gotcha. Lindsey Graham may get in trouble. Doubt it. His name's not even mentioned on any of these documents. He might be called to testify. But I don't think they're gonna do anything to him. If not, his name would have been in the indictment, right? A politically persecuted person needs to be able to run from prison. The law protects, as I said. This is just a worst case scenario. Yeah. Oh, but here's a question though. Like, yeah, a politically persecuted person. But this is not a politically persecuted person, right? Like this is literally just a criminal. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Has access to those kinds of resources. These are all different little entities that take on little pieces of this puzzle, and it's just really hard, honestly, often to know when it comes to the actual things that they're doing, where one entity stops and the other begins, because they are working in coordination so often. CLEDA herself is meeting with the state legislators that are designing these voter suppression measures.
Measures like the ones currently working through the state legislature in North Carolina.
We're looking at substantial voter suppression from underinvestment and explicit attacks on voters in the coming several elections.
True.
Ann Webb is the policy director for Common Cause North
We see
Carolina.
eye to eye.
The omnibus bill, which is
That's good. How much evidence or testimony is sealed? I mean, like I said, they might call him for testimony. They might call him for testimony, but he himself is currently, as far as we know, not under any investigation. As far as we know. Sorry about that, folks. Hold on. Even if Trump wins the election, he can't exercise any action that could possibly pardon him for multiple state felony convictions. True. Lock him up with Rudy in the same cell. No, they're not gonna lock him up in the same cell. Georgia prosecutors will not grant him leave, but hold him. I mean, he really needs to be in jail. He really does need to be in jail. I mean, he goes on 2 hours ago talking about election interference and election being rigged. The election can't be rigged. And there be... Okay, so like on one hand, if you believe that the election was truly rigged, which he doesn't, by the way, he doesn't. If you believe that the election was rigged, why would you ask the state Secretary of State to find the winning number of votes, instead of just saying there's a problem here that you need to look into, or point out where the election, where the rigging occurred, right? But why would you to get them all? Ah, yes, true. The Donald promises a presser promising a report that... like the Kraken lady? Like the Kraken lady? Not so much the Kraken lady or Mike Lindell, who promised evidence. It's not so much a matter of principled conduct as one of necessity. What, to lock him up? Yeah, well, both, right? It is both correct and principled to treat him like everybody else. And it's also just literally necessity to lock this guy up. The presser is on Monday? I don't know. I don't really care. Like, we're not going to really, like, learn anything from what is going to be obviously a bunch of bullshit, right? Like, his lawyers can file their appeals, but he will sit in jail because he's independent, probably deranged, and presents a continued existential to law-abiding government. True. It's not the West Wing on TV. President Bartlett is not going to come save us with centrist homies, but in any case, Trumpism can't be killed or imprisoned. I think Trumpism, I mean, if he's like in jail, if he's done, then like it's over, right? Like, Trumpism is gone when he's done, right? If he loses the election, Trumpism is done, right? I mean, it's over. Look at DeSantis. DeSantis is like in shambles. DeSantis right now at this moment, completely bombed.
Senate Bill 747 has more than 30 provisions, so I won't try to go through all of them.
Cleta Mitchell and her Election Integrity Network have been publicly pushing many of these measures.
In terms of the
I think you're being naive, but we can agree to disagree. Maybe you're right, okay?
3 or 4 most concerning provisions, the number one is there are numerous attacks in this bill on mail-in voting.
I think it will turn more cancers. Trumpism is a disease that eats the body politic inside out. Yeah, okay, maybe that may be the case. That may be the case. That may be the case. Maybe I'll end up beating my own hat when Trump inevitably is out of the picture. Because, like, for that exact reason, right? Like, it's for that exact reason. Like DeSantis tried to be like the Trump, right? DeSantis tried to kind of supplant him. And that just like failed miserably. So like, who is gonna take that mantle when he leaves? It's not gonna be the same. In my opinion, is like some ideologies live long past their creators. I give Trumpism a few more decades at least. Please, God. Oh man.
That is a clear theme.
We need to do something about massive, unsupervised, unprotected voting by mail.
Literally, there's nothing wrong with mail-in voting. We've done it forever and a half. Trump is nothing without his followers. They'll simply find another patsy. Yeah, I guess so.
Proposal there would require all mail-in ballots to be received by Election Day, cutting what we've had as a 3-day grace period for mail-in ballots to arrive at the County Board of Elections office and still be counted.
We believe that all ballots should be received by the time the polls close on Election Day in order to be counted.
Requiring an entirely new signature verification process here in North Carolina.
There is no meaningful verification of identity of people who vote by mail.
On top of an already very onerous requirement that all mail-in ballots have either the signature of a notary or of 2 witnesses. And then the next category is a very substantial gutting of same-day registration.
Same-day registration?
Oh, that's right.
Registration?
All the things that we don't want.
The proposal at hand would make it incredibly onerous for someone to be able to cast a ballot that is counted as a traditional ballot when voting and registering on the same day.
Despite meeting with North Carolina legislators,
a meeting that I had with some North Carolina legislators back in May.
Cleta Mitchell has publicly claimed that she had nothing to do with crafting the legislation.
I don't see how you can say that she had nothing to do with it when there are these distinctive policies in there that are just really closely associated with her. And as someone who's been working in North Carolina, democracy issues for a long time, not stuff that I'd really heard as policy proposals before.
Look, I've known Cleta Mitchell for 20 years or so. She is all in with the far right wing of the Republican Party. She is MAGA through and through.
I mean, which is just the Republican Party, right? I mean, that's literally it. If Trump was not convicted, and he loses the election, he's not done. He's only done when the 35 to 40% that will always vote him turn on him. There will be another populist demagogue like Trump? You think so? Like, can there be like a replacement that is like Trump? Trump isn't even new. There was a Wallace before him. Wallace was competitive in the polls before he was shot. True. People with a special relation to the truth. That's one way of putting it, I guess.
And what that means is that she is part of a network of lawyers who want to make it harder to vote and easier to cheat.
Mark Elias is an elections attorney, often found challenging measures like the ones Cleta supports in courts across the country. He's a bit of a boogeyman for Cleta.
Mark Elias and the Democrats are filing lawsuits.
The most remarkable thing in a remarkable year of statements about voting was when Cleta Mitchell was caught on tape complaining that students were voting.
And we need to figure out how to do that and how to combat that.
You were kind of waiting for her to make some argument that what the students were doing was fraudulent. No. Her complaint is just that students are able to vote.
What is this young people effort that they do?
Her complaint was that colleges had put polling places on college campuses.
They basically put the polling place next to the student dorm, so they just had to roll out of bed, vote, and go back to bed.
We've been...
And? What? So what?
Fighting in Montana and in Idaho and in Ohio now, and for a long time in New Hampshire, all because Republicans know they can't win if young voters and college voters in particular are able to vote. And so Cleta Mitchell is at the vanguard of a movement among Republican lawyers to use their law degrees rather than to protect democracy, to undermine democracy.
But pressure campaigns on restrictive election legislation?
Yeah, 100%. Her role is to make sure voting turns out a certain way. This is easy to get. Yeah, 100%. They still have a few moderate GOP app dogs who can go on TV and present the surface image of civility. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they'll still vote for these like extreme like agendas. So it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, they might be like the face, but it's the same. It's all the same.
Is just one way. Cleta and the EIN are mobilizing their base.
We're getting ready to launch a major effort nationwide to try to recruit as many people as possible to become poll workers and poll watchers.
Another legislative push in North Carolina could embolden those poll observers.
So House Bill 772 would completely revise the North Carolina statutes around poll observers. The folks at the NC election integrity team have claimed publicly that this is their bill that they wrote.
The North Carolina Election Integrity Team, or NSITE, works closely with Cleta's Election Integrity Network.
A couple of the pieces that are especially concerning are allowing the poll observers...
Election integrity. Here's the thing. Whenever some of these people talk about like election integrity, like immediately like the first question that should come to mind is like, well, it's a Mott and Bailey, right? Everybody believes in election integrity. Here's a question. If it's true that we need these legislations, where are the problems that would that necessitate these measures? And follow-up question, would that legislation actually solve said problems provided that you can prove that they exist in the first place? Right? The answer to that is obviously no, none. They don't exist. The problems with our election systems do not exist to the level of of changing outcomes of the election. It's just not true. It just doesn't happen. Election or voter fraud or whatever makes it to maybe 0.000 whatever percent. So why are these people so interested in election integrity? Where are the problems that warrant this concern? Define integrity. To them, it means elections we lost. When I don't win, then there's a problem with the integrity of the election. That's what they mean.
Observers to move around, including within 5 feet of where voters are voting, explicitly allowing them to record audio of conversations between voters and election workers and to take photographs of election machines. Some of that is permitted already, but these additional, very expansive sort of rights of a poll observer go well beyond what is necessary in order for partisan observers to have sufficient perspective to make sure that the election is being carried out properly.
We'll fight against the legislation as much as we can. It's a challenge because of the makeup of the legislature.
Though Democratic Governor Roy Cooper has already come out against the legislation, the GOP currently has a veto-proof supermajority in the state legislature. Jennifer McMillan Rubin is president of the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. The group is urging voters to write their legislators to oppose the election restrictions.
Clearly, the momentum is on the side of creating difficulty for voters. So we have to try to build up a force against that, to make people aware and to make the legislators aware that they're going in the opposite direction of what people in the state want. They want to be able to vote and make voting easy.
It's not just North Carolina, it's already happening in these other states. This is not the end, right? So, whatever happens with these voter suppression bills, this network is not going away. They are going to continue to exist, and they're going to continue to be disruptive to, people's ability to access the vote.
Who would have known years ago that we would have to work that hard to get people access to the polls? But that's really the key, and that's what we're working hard to do, is try to get them there, make a difference.
Wow. That's China messing with the elections. Check them for bamboo. True. The only problem they see with elections is that independents and Democrats are not executed for voting. True. All right, folks. Let's get some headlines before All right. Phenomenal stuff from Beanie Man. We'll get to that. Why doctors pay millions in fees that could be spent on care. Because we live in a for-profit system. Imagine if each time your wages were deposited into your account, your employer deducted a fee of 1.5% to 5% to provide the money electronically. That increasingly is what health insurers are imposing on doctors. Health insurers, the insurance companies. Many insurers, after whittling down physicians' reimbursements, now take an additional cut if the doctor prefers, as almost all do, to receive funds electronically rather than a paper check. Such fees have become routine in American healthcare in recent years, according to an investigation by ProPublica published on yesterday, and some medical clinics say they'll seek to pass those costs on to the patients. Bro, almost 60% of medical practices said they were compelled to pay fees for electronic payment, at least some of the time, according to a 2021 survey. With more than $2 trillion a year of medical claims paid electronically, these fees likely add up to billions of dollars that could be spent on care, but instead are going to the insurers and middlemen, which are insurers. They're the insurance companies. That's literally the middlemen. They're the same. What is this, 1992? Congress had intended the opposite to happen when lawmakers passed the Affordable Care Act. Instead of just, universal healthcare system, they encourage the use of electronic payments in healthcare. Direct deposits are faster and easier to process than checks, require less labor for doctors and insurers alike. The idea was to lower costs, said Robert Tennant of the work group for electronic data interchange, an industry that advises the federal government. Sorry about that. It should have been the opposite. True. Whew. All right. When the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services created rules for the electronic payment in 2012, the agency predicted that shifting from paper to electronic billing would save about $3 billion to $4.5 billion over 10 years. That's not how it played out. CMS quickly began hearing complaints from doctors about fees. An industry of middlemen had begun sprouting up, processing payments for insurers and skimming fees off the top. Sometimes they shared a portion of the fees with the insurers too. The middlemen companies say they offer value in return for the fees and insist that it's easy to opt out of their services, but doctors say otherwise. Why is this even necessary? Is my question. Like, none of this would even be a discussion if we had some kind of universal healthcare system. Okay? Not only would we be saving a lot of money on healthcare costs, because we're literally paying twice the amount for shittier outcomes, no less. But we're paying twice the amount of money. We're not getting any good outcomes, despite spending all that money. And now, insurers off the top are trying to skim doctors out of even more money, when instead all of this could have just been bypassed and just done a universal healthcare system. We wouldn't even need to be having this conversation. The CMS responded to complaints in August of 2017 by publishing a notice on its website reminding the healthcare industry and electronic payments that electronic payments were not a profit-making opportunity. In a for-profit system? Okay, dude. The agency cited a long-standing rule that prohibited charging fees. Technically, the government banned fees or costs in excess of the fees or costs for normal telecommunications, such as the cost of sending an email. What? The cost of sending an email? The rule had been on the books since 2000, but the insurers and middlemen were abiding by it. Read and rap, Stephen Crowder and Ben Shapiro, but the long wait times that are comparable to our for-profit system. The long wait times that are comparable to our current for-profit system, and not only do we get shittier outcomes, but we pay twice the price for it too. Look at that. Within 6 months of the pronouncement, however, CMS suddenly removed the fee notice from its website. The decision baffled doctors such as Alex, I'm not even going to pretend to announce that, a New York urologist, but made it his mission to battle the fees. He began to file voluminous public record requests to CMS to obtain documents showing why the agency reversed course. The records that he eventually obtained, which he shared with ProPublica, provided a rare day-to-day glimpse on how one industry lobbyist got CMS to back down. Ah, there it is. The lobbyist, Matthew Albright, who used to work for at the CMS division that implemented the electronic payment rule, in fact, he was its chief author. He has since moved on to Zealous, a company that handles electronic payments for over 700 insurers and other, quote, payers. Internal CMS emails showed that Albright protested the notice prohibiting fees and demanded that CMS revise the document. A turncoat. Over the ensuing months, as ProPublica outlined, Albright used an artful combination of cajoling, argument, and legal threat. He claimed that the rule against fees only applied to direct transactions between insurers and doctors, but electronic payments involving middlemen such as Zealous, but electronic payments involved middlemen such as Zealous, a prohibition didn't apply. CMS ultimately dropped its ban on fees. The move benefited Zealous and other payment processors. The losers were doctors who said they were not given an option to get paid electronically without agreeing to a fee. In March, when the doctor called Zealous to enroll in electronic payment for one insurer, Zealous rep quoted him a fee of 2.5% for each payment. When he complained, the call got transferred to another rep who said the lowest we can go is 2.1%. Zealous said in a statement that it removes many of the obstacles that keep providers from efficiently initiating, receiving, and benefiting from electronic payments. We believe in provider choice and actively support their ability to move between payment methods based on differing needs and preferences. Hey, Bond, how's it going? Zealous did not respond to detailed questions about Albright's interaction with CMS or make him available to discuss that topic. Yeah, hey, asshole. Why did you lobby, and what was the purpose of that? If you were originally its architect, CMS said that it receives feedback from a wide range of stakeholders on an ongoing basis, where guidance and clarification of existing policy may be needed. As for the doctor, he's still on quest to help doctors avoid electronic payment fees. Meanwhile, his inability to persuade the insurance middleman often leads him to a step that is the antithesis of efficiency. Whenever he's asked to pay for a fee for an electronic payment, he requests a paper check instead. Hey, Bond, how's it going? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. The fact that this is even a story is ludicrous. The fact that this is a story is absolutely ludicrous. We're talking about a for-profit system literally shafting doctors. Not only do the insurers shaft doctors, but now these middlemen who process payments are also shafty. So this argument that oh well, under a public system, doctors would be paid less. Bro, are you seeing this? It could be worse. I could be Trump. Ha! How could you read stories like this and be like, yeah, the for-profit system is fine. This is okay. This is fine, actually. Credit card companies charge similar swipe fees around 3%. This is not really new. No, but what is new is the fact that these companies have been getting away with shit that actually originally was specifically banned. Or in the original inception of the Affordable Care Act, this was banned because this is for healthcare. So, the concept of fees is not new, obviously. But there was legislation originally to ban this kind of stuff for healthcare in the Affordable Healthcare Plan. And these companies lobbied to get that dropped. The point being is how could you look at this and be like, yep, this for-profit system is working. It's great. It's phenomenal. Isn't this what Elon created? Taking a cut of every payment anyone ever makes? Well, I mean, I guess, but this is for healthcare. Those folks have blood on their hands. True, every modern physician's office pays to have a clearinghouse to send their claims and to get payments. The payments are digital to allow easy payment posting the patient's accounts. Right. The point was to make it efficient, and that was the whole. You're right. That was the whole reasoning behind the rule of making sure that there'd be no fees, because we wanted everyone to switch to digital to be as efficient as possible. Not create another avenue of exploitment. But the clearinghouses are not free, right? Which makes the argument for a universal healthcare system, it just keeps adding to the argument for a universal healthcare system, right? Like you're getting rid of so much fucking unnecessary shit with a universal healthcare system. Even if you have healthcare, the quality has gone down. Yes, the quality, the outcomes have gone down. It is a fucking headache to deal with these fucking insurance companies, and it's expensive. So you're not even like, you're just getting scammed. That's what it is. You're just getting scammed, and it's one thing, to get scammed if you have like a laptop that you're insuring or anything like that, but it's another when it comes to your health. Universal healthcare, the doctors will still have to bill. Maybe I don't know if like that's always the case. But at the very least, if so, then they will only be dealing with one entity, which is like the government, right? And the government isn't going to be like, well, that's going to be a 2.5 processing fee. That's not going to be a thing. The communication and administration will be a lot more streamlined. There's also the cost of medical education, the cost of running an office, the cost of paying for specialist insurance, medical billing, transportation, so many ancillary expenses, yet all of which could be under the government. Like, all of that can be provided. Do you see John Oliver's video on this for universal healthcare? I might have. Michael Moore interviewed a healthcare PR executive on his podcast, Rumble, to explain how they use propaganda to convince people that universal healthcare was bad. Surprise, yep. I work in healthcare. The clearinghouse will still be needed. Gotcha, okay. I guess it just wouldn't be, you just wouldn't be dealing with like as much bullshit. All right, if you just have a single payer, and like the only thing that you're communicating, I guess, back and forth would be just like the government. When it comes to paying. Yeah, well, actually, the cost of medical education would ideally would already be part of like a universal education system, right? We need a method to control costs, otherwise we'll easily lose control of them. Right, but that's only happening. That's only happening because we live in a for-profit system. The insurance and banking jokes from Married with Children in their 11-year run from 1987 on TV. If you have universal health care, the best doctors will go private and not take universal patients. They won't have an option. They won't have an option. It's Medicare for all. There won't be an option there. You will have no private system unless you're talking about a small percentage of elective procedures or plastic surgery or something like that. I don't know. Something that is not crucial. You will not have a private system. It won't be an option. Doctors do not have to accept Medicaid even now. Right. Except under a Medicare for all system, there wouldn't be another option, right? That's the whole point of having a single payer system. Is that they won't have an option. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna go private? All right, well, good luck doing auxiliary things or something that's not something that's not critical. I mean, this isn't a question. This isn't a problem that happens in other countries, right? Especially countries with a pure single payer system. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Rich people will pay for the private doctors. It happens in the UK. That's fine. The UK still has a universal healthcare system. The UK still takes care of its healthcare needs. That's fine. Even on Twitch, streamers go to Mexico and other places. It's cheaper for procedures. True. If you want to waste, if you're rich and you want to do that, that's fine. A single government payer can easily be treated as a for-profit system by poor cost control. Providers simply flood the government with reimbursement claims to keep themselves afloat because their costs to run a business are not going down. A single government payer can be easily treated as a for-profit system for poor cost control providers, but there wouldn't be private providers, right? As there wouldn't be as many private providers unless you're talking about outside things I don't know, a plastic surgery or something like that. You're not really dealing with outside providers. Will just be government run. You cannot force a doctor to accept universal health care. Yeah, you can. You can write it into legislation. Absolutely. Wait, what? Of course you can. You can have a auxiliary private line where if you want to do stuff cover stuff that's auxiliary, you can do that. But yeah, you can. Legally you cannot. I believe that if legislation were to be passed, yeah, you probably could. Guaranteed. I mean, it's not really a good it's not really a good argument. So you're saying that every single doctor is going to opt out? Every single doctor. You're just not going to have any doctors? Then how does every universal healthcare system work? Explain that one to me, if that makes sense. The UK has a universal healthcare system. I don't think people outside the US realize how bad it's gotten. Interesting going from one extreme to the next. Math problems? I don't know what you're talking about. There will be doctors who don't want to join. Yeah, it won't really be an option. You shouldn't have an option to be yeah, I'm just not going to take that. Then where are you going to go? Then where are you going to go? How do you force them? The same way that you have the same way that you have universal healthcare systems functioning in other nations. I don't understand why this is like a problem. The best ones will. Not all doctors are good enough to opt out and still get patients. Remember, we're in the process of having a doctor shortage. I don't think you can eliminate the private sphere. The UK has a parallel system of private providers. Why is that? Because conservatives have slowly taken away and slowly privatized that NHS system, and still somehow they have a national healthcare system. Or are you talking British? Well, I'm making the point. Hey, Sajab, how's it going? I'm making the point that like you can have a universal healthcare system. I don't understand like where the difficulties is of like understanding that. Doctors won't be able to take cash. Think about it. This makes no sense. Your comment literally makes no sense. Teaching economics is a daily deed for me, but I'm too tired at the moment because rich folks don't want to mingle with the plebs. Universal healthcare does not eliminate private care. Even if it didn't, even if you had a small branch or parallel branch of privatized like small healthcare for like rich people, okay? Wait, where's the argument? Where's the argument? You're providing more care. You're literally providing care to like the entire country. Where is the problem here? Where's the disconnect? Even if that was the case, even if you had no other choice but to have some kind of parallel private system, and what? And you would still have universal health care for everybody. I don't understand what the downside is here. You were saying that all doctors would have to accept universal government payments. No. I said that they would have to accept let's say if we had a Medicare for all system, they would all have to accept Medicare. As one of my arguments. Being treated like a human and not an ATM at the doctor's office sounds great. True. Two-tier healthcare system is classes by definition, right?
More than healthcare.
Oh, now I'm getting healthcare ads. Nice meme.
Every year, U.S. visitors make 1.2 million trips across the Mexican border to this tiny border town so they can receive affordable health care.
Welcome to Los Algodones, guys. We meet the best. Look, Virginia Dental.
A lot of people live here in this town because of the dental tours. A lot of families eat about the dental tours.
They have a whole industry dedicated to people, to Americans who cannot afford dental care because it's too fucking expensive because of the private system. It is literally cheaper to take a fucking trip to Mexico. Okay? So, like, again, I don't understand what like, any of these, like, supposed problems are non-issues, really. Like, even if it was the case that you couldn't do away with, like, the private system in, like, a single fail swoop, I'm a medical coder for a countrywide company. Has 500 eye surgeons across the country. I review the op reports and make sure they are coded right. doesn't matter. We wouldn't need all of that shit. Why? It could be so much more standardized, and not have to go through like a fucking private system. Here's a question. There's a 3-tier healthcare system. Tier 1 for the working class, Tier 2 for rich and management class, and Tier 3 for the wealthy. They don't want you to know about, if you live long enough, you will get a cataract. So there shouldn't be any of this. If that's correct, if you live long enough, you get a cataract. So we shouldn't even like be talking about this. It should just be a system where we kind of have everything in, we kind of have like a universal healthcare system. So again, even if there was a scenario where you could not get rid of a private sector, then you would still have a universal healthcare system, and it would still provide services to everybody. I don't understand. It would just be that simple. You understand? 1 out of 5 people work in the healthcare system. And that's fine. They would continue to work in the healthcare industry.
That we have here. More than 300 clinics are in a place around 7 square miles.
In Hawaii, it would have.
So wait, I'm not understanding. So we shouldn't move to a universal healthcare system? Like, I'm not understanding the argument. So we shouldn't move to a universal healthcare system. This is fine? This is working? This is great? I don't understand.
Would have been easy, up to $45,000.
Do you have dental insurance in the U.S.?
It is, but it's worthless.
What began?
How will we be paying for it? How can the economy? I just don't understand how you are going to get savings unless you ration care. You don't have to ration care. The outcomes of a universe, like no one in Canada is like, damn, I don't understand how we're no one in Canada is asking this fucking question. No one in the fucking UK is asking this question. No one in France, no one in Sweden is asking these questions. I feel it's naive. I think it's naive to simp for a system and understand that even like seeing it in real life and then being like, yeah, this is fine. My question is, how is an economy be made to handle these massive expenditures? How is it able to handle these massive expenditures now when it would be cheaper? When it would be cheaper to have a universal healthcare system? And here's a follow-up question. Why is that always a question when you talk about healthcare? Why is that always a question when you talk about healthcare, but never a question when you talk about like when you talk about like, I don't know, the military budget? Why is that never a question? Where are you going to pay less? Canada, they have problems getting to see patients. The question of making social spending work is very much part of the UK politics and has done so since James Callaghan. If you're a cishet white male in America, there's a 4% chance you will have $1 million by age of 57. True. Who are you going to pay less? Canada, it's not just about paying less. Also, don't doctors make like comparable salaries in a universal healthcare system? How much do doctors make? I don't know. Let's in the UK, whatever. I mean, how much is like 80 pounds is like the minimum. $101,000? How do you get the savings? Because our costs are way over bloated. You should know this. You do billing, don't you? For many years, we spent far more on social spending than we created in the UK in order to pay for the NHS. We had to borrow money and print money. Nah, there's a lot of other different problems with the NHS because of conservatives trying to fucking gut that shit. So don't spare me with that shit. You should know. If you're from the UK, you should know that fucking conservatives have been trying to gut that shit. Costs in the US are much greater now. Imagine implementing a government system that's single payer and believing all medical debt and relieving all medical debt across services and practitioners will just disappear. Oh, sorry. Imagine implementing a government system that's single payer and believing that all medical debt across all services and practitioners will just disappear. No, they won't. Please don't get me wrong. We're have healthcare, homes, and education. Okay, so universal healthcare. Like, why is this never a question? And why? How come? Here's the question: how come? Literally every single country, every other fucking country can make this happen. Why can't we? I don't understand. And why do their healthcare costs are so much cheaper than ours? And you should know that they are. Like, that's undeniable. On the low end, doctors in just England, in the UK, make about $101,000 minimum. Minimum. That's the low end. They could make up to shoot, I lost it. They can make up to 150,000 pounds. How much is 150K? Yeah, pounds to dollars. On the higher end, they could make like 190. The costs are so high in the US because of private insurance. Exactly. The conservatives are guilty too, but I think one of the worst crimes of left-wing politics is to dismiss economic problems. Not really, actually. It's one of our best fucking, it's our fucking bread and butter. To understand, like, the inefficiencies of a privatized system is explicitly talking about economic problems. You've got it all backwards, my friend. Yes, and we're spending too much money on fucking defense, dude. This country literally spends $800 and something billion. And you're telling me that we have to print money? No, man. Our priorities are just completely back-asswards. The way it works is we have to raise taxes or we pay someone less. Remember, a doctor dies not know what they're going to charge until they see a patient and determine what the patient needs. Okay? This is not an argument for this is not an argument against universal healthcare. If you were to tell me tomorrow that my taxes would increase 4%, but I would never have to worry about fucking healthcare. Okay? What? Okay. Cool. Done. I live in Canada, 80-20. I have 80-20, 20-80. Healthcare basic maintenance care is fully covered. Normal established procedures are covered 80%. Novel procedures are covered 20% by the province. Nice. And that's all just like universal. Like, this is all part of just what you get. Right, remember, a doctor does not know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It should all just be. U.S. failure points can be found at all levels of government when it comes to negotiating payments for service costs. Costs are set according to a myriad of factors, such as much of which boils down to operation costs, research, and development. It's incredibly Byzantine. So you're saying that the private system shouldn't even be touching that. The NHS is an example of how politics cuts programs based on who wants to make a statement. Remember, Medicare is 80-20 and you have to pay for Medicare. If you're a senior, it comes already, right? You only have to pay like the supplementary plans, right? If you want supplementary plans, then you pay for them. But Medicare is already included when you become a senior, right? That's how that works. You still have to pay? What is the difference between a Medicare cost and a regular insurance premium? How much does Medicare cost? Bro, are you serious? Cost for Part A medical insurance, $0. Deductible is $1,600. For each time there's no limit to the number of periods you can have. Inpatient stays, 1 to 60, so 2 months. So you have So you have 2 months of $0 if you have to stay inpatient, if you meet your deductible. If you pay for coverage B, which is a separate, I guess a separate added thing to Medicare, then you have to pay $164.90 each month. Part B pays the doctors. Drug coverage, which is Part D. This is the stuff they try to sell you afterwards. The NHS is an excellent example of UK. As someone from the UK, the question of funding is a genuine economic problem we face. I think Americans don't understand our issues, sadly. Well, because I'm American and I live here. It is possible for multiple things to be true at once. The NHS is becoming more expensive, particularly under the age strains and care costs. But that also doesn't mean the UK can't necessarily afford to pay for it. It still remains a policy that is financially beneficial and will also widely supported by a vast majority of citizens. There's definitely been a mismanagement, conservatives, also was bloated bureaucracy that soaked up funds. Thank you. When the privatization of the NHS, you'll understand why we are so concerned. The reason why the U.S. doesn't have universal healthcare is not about cost. That's not really a reason any country has or hasn't gotten a healthcare system. It's the willpower and belief of the citizens themselves. Americans are way more individualistic than Europeans, and their society is antithetical to collectivized social care. But my argument would be it would end up being cheaper. It would end up being cheaper. Like, even if I had to pay $164.90 a month, that's less than what I have to pay. That's less than what I have to pay. Then you have a deductible of what is now $465 a year, and you have 20% off every bill. You have to pay 20% off every bill? Is that what you're saying? Just like the Canadian thing. They already did under Labour and Conservative parties, which is a major problem. However, no party has been able to address the issue of Britain's terrible economic growth under a monetarist economy. It's an open question as to how far we can fund with the NHS with smaller budgets, shrinking GDP growth, and high taxes. There was Romney Care and Obamacare, and the insurance judges and GOP chipped away at it. Yeah, I mean, I still don't see why we can't have a universal healthcare system, just like they would in literally every other country that is cheaper than what we have here. That's my entire point. How much does... That's why the folks go part CHMO style to avoid the 20%. Yeah, but I don't think costs are really Americans care about. It's not what the British people thought after the Burbage report was published about collective rather than the beneficial cost. The UK was missed the war. Yeah, I guess so. Here's like a comparison. A healthcare cost, like if you have like a family plan, if you have like a family plan for you, your spouse, and your children, the average cost is $14,723 a year. Okay, keep that number in mind. So just as an average, explain this one. So a family health insurance plan, or the cost of an average family health insurance plan, is $14,000 whatever a year, $14,723. The average cost per person in the U.S. per person is $12,900. Like, it just makes no sense as to why we have the system that we do if we don't even get better outcomes. We spend all this money in fucking like administrative bullshit and rent-seeking behavior from these insurance companies. We let them get away with essentially effectively rent-seeking behavior because they continue to push and pump costs up without any return on benefit. And yet we don't, you get better outcomes if you have really good insurance. Do you now? So you mean you have to pay more? So in other words, your health outcomes are tied to how much money you have? So we're still advocating for this system. This system is okay to you? This is fine? What? We didn't know you could spend your way out of a recession, increase employment by cutting taxes and boosting government spending. I tell you now, candor, that an option no longer exists. So, if only worked on occasion. I have no idea what this has to do with anything. No, okay, so then the answer would be, why don't we have something that clearly is, okay, so you hate the system, so then we can move on to a universal healthcare system, which demonstrably not only are outcomes overall better, but you have more people covered. And you have half of the price. So I don't understand, like, where that even, why this was even a conversation to begin with then, if that's the case.
Began with one dentist in one clinic more than 50 years ago, grew into a series of interconnected industries, all either serving or surviving off of medical tourism.
Siempre tratamos de que el turista que viene aquí, darle un cálido recibimiento, que se sienta cómodo, que se sienta seguro, pues para que esto mismo no desaparezca.
But what does it mean when even middle-class residents of...
It means our healthcare system is shitty because it's privatized. That's it. Because you cannot convince the general population to vote for House members and senators that would support it. That's a whole other fucking problem. Okay, we're talking about a whole other problem, because that, if you want to talk like if you want to say that like our government is fucked, that's fair. I'm not even going to argue that. That's not even a problem. But having a universal healthcare system is objectively better. That was my entire point. That's it. That's literally my entire point. The problem is, and this is a recurring problem, is that you can't bring about if nobody's willing to put something on the line for it. British people effectively died for the NHS, but Americans are currently caught in a stranglehold where they openly express that they'll vote for parties no matter what, and so nobody's putting anything on the line. The Democrats have no reason to promote healthcare reform because the votes are already banked. Why risk it? True. Nah, I mean, this isn't. I'm not even going to dispute that. It could be if the right people set it up. I mean, just seems like in general, like if you just kind of take a look around the world, it seems like it works just fine. Not saying it's perfect. I'm saying it's better. I'm saying I'm not saying that it doesn't have its own issues. I'm saying it's better than what we have. I mean, period. If the wrong people do it, it could be worse. I mean, unless you're talking about like the wrong people being like insurance companies, then yeah. But like overall, in general, you have, it seems like, more success. Like literally every other country has figured this out. Why can't we? That's my question. Every other country has figured this out. Every other country has managed to cut costs and managed to still provide healthcare for its population. I mean, this isn't like a novel concept. Why can't we? That's what I'm asking.
One of the world's wealthiest nations are forced to cross the border to receive health care.
Just try to live my life with my mouth closed and
not smiling.
I don't know the topic, but because America. Yeah, it's whoa. Really trying to sell me gold chains? Okay.
And how
I don't know how it works legally, but you'd probably get better luck trying to implement state-based healthcare systems rather than national ones. The U.S. is too big and too divided on these things to get something done at that level. I mean, the whole point of bringing down costs would be that you have a bigger pool, right? The whole point, like, the reason why you have cheaper insurance through an employer is because there's a bigger pool of risk, right? There's a bigger risk pool, right? So why not make the entire country the risk pool? I mean, like, I don't know if it would make a difference if you just do it state by state, but that kind of screws people, right? Because if you live in a state that doesn't provide this, like, you know, then you're kind of SOL, right? That's not right. Everything is more difficult on the country that doesn't use metric. We use Fahrenheit. True. Taking care of everyone means less profit for a select few. That's right. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I agree. The problem is the insurance companies. The problem is that we live in a privatized system that just simply cannot work. Because the purpose of the privatized system is to make a profit. Healthcare is downstream from making a profit, right? Healthcare is downstream from making a profit. They're a business first. That's why you're seeing, that's why you're seeing articles like the one we just went over, where doctors are literally being squeezed 1.52% of fees for nothing that the insurers put on them, and created an entire industry on shafting and skimming fucking doctors off the top. Because the point isn't healthcare. The point is profit. I'm tired of incrementalism. I feel that. I just don't think the cost stuff resonates with opponents, though I'm sure it convinces me and you, but we're not the ones needing turned. Republicans don't oppose healthcare reform because it's cheaper and more expensive. They're about their sense of liberty and freedom to exist without relying on the state. That's the bridge and has to be built. How do you convince those people that it's good without talking about the cost? Because it makes no sense. Like, I've had this argument because it makes no sense. So you're willing to talk about how you don't want to rely on the government, but you're going to rely on a private insurer that holds you by the balls just the same. Like, it just doesn't convince me. And I would argue, and I have argued that point to those exact folks. The sense of liberty and freedom without relying on the state is misplaced, because all you're doing is just giving it to a corporation who will screw you for profit. So why would you think that you are giving up your liberty and freedom because you will be on a universal healthcare system versus giving up your liberty and freedom to corporations, to a private entity? That's what my argument would be. Like, that's what I would add. That's what I have retorted with. Because you're not really giving up your liberty and freedom. You're not really giving up your liberty and freedom to the state. You're just simply giving it to the private system. I think the point is that it's not you who must be convinced. I know that. I made the argument. It's you has to convince them. There seems to be a fundamental divide here. Yes, I'm making the argument as to how I would respond to that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense, though. If anything that makes no sense, saying that it makes no sense pushes people away. Like, they believe it and it feels real to them. I'll never convince anyone of anything. If my plan relies on me changing their entire philosophical worldview, it'll always fail. So, I mean, like, if you think that, your entire like philosophical worldview will be fundamentally rocked, because you go to the same doctor, and it just happens that they're the ones that are getting paid by the government instead of, like, I don't know, a private system, then, like, I don't know, it just feels like the same. Like, you're not really just think of it as the same thing. Don't even think about who's funding the healthcare. Like, if we can just bypass that thought process from the beginning, like, it would be literally the same. Like, you just have like this concept or this preconceived notion of the big nanny state, for something like healthcare, but you don't have that when it comes to you being the ones to run or to increase the nanny state, right? So it makes no sense. It just feels arbitrary, and I urge you to rethink that, especially when it comes to healthcare. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. We the people hate the idea of collectivity is ironic, really true. Obamacare proved that the state mandated things can hit so differently that only benefited urbanized people, as were. Okay, but Obamacare, let's be honest, Obamacare was written by fucking insurance companies. Obamacare was literally written by insurance companies. It was literally a fucking, like, rubber stamp legislation. Indeed, but that didn't keep people from promoting it. That's fine. Obamacare was bad. Okay, Obamacare had a couple of things. But like at the end of the day, it was legislation written by the insurance companies. I mean, like, there has to be a way to appease its people who believe in liberty and freedom from the government without abandoning universal health care. Maybe the tiptoe policy of Obama was right one, but also not, because it was still created a lot of opposition. The problem is that, but the problem with the Obamacare legislation is that it didn't really solve the problem at all. You just made you like improved a couple of things. You made like certain rules that are important, like you can't deny people coverage for pre-existing conditions. Like, you made some like good adjustments, but it didn't really do anything when it comes to like the fundamental problem, which is the fucking for-profit system. We can't do that by dismissing how they feel. Something has to give somewhere there. It has to be them that has to give, right? Because like if you honestly believe, kept students on parental, like small things like this, okay, great, fine, that's important, because it helped people. But like at the end of the day, it didn't really solve the fundamental problem. And like, if you truly believe, like, what is more free? Like what more liberty and freedom is there than you not having to worry? About the next time you go to the doctor? Or like, what is more liberating and free to know that if you feel sick, you don't have to like think about the massive amount of money you have to spend on the hospital or whatever. What can be more free than like knowing your kids aren't going to be like struggling to see if they get hurt, where their healthcare is going to come from. You won't have to, you'll have the freedom of not being fucking like going through insurance companies and fighting with insurance companies to get your fucking claim approved. You'll be fucking free of deductibles, free of premiums, which are more expensive than the fucking like taxes that would be increased anyways. Like, I don't understand. It's more freeing. You don't have to fucking think about that shit. It was sold as this great miracle. Maybe the corporate Democrats might have, but it wasn't. I hope you're doing well. Curious what you think of Cornel West. Disappointing. I think what sunk Clinton's campaign, are you talking about 2016? Was the fact that she tied herself to Obama? Did she? And then just before the vote, Obamacare premiums were announced to be raised by 25% in the next... yeah, dude, that's what sunk Clinton's campaign. Not the fact that she's, like, an incredibly disliked candidate. Not the fact that she was completely, like, disliked. And the fact that she made several campaign errors, like strategic errors. Nothing to do with that. It was because she tied herself to Obama. Got it. No. I mean, I doubt it. I think she did that all by herself. I think she did that all by herself. Okay? I think she did a phenomenal job of sinking her own campaign. Okay? And the GOP and Trump promised to kill and disappear Obamacare. Yeah, which they perceived as some kind of, like, gift to poor people or something. I don't know, man. I want to boost up the quality of healthcare. It's getting so shitty, especially in the U.S. territories. True. That's interesting. If you ever go in depth, Wes, let me know. Would be curious to know. I mean, like, there's no point. Like, what am I going to talk about? Like, Cornel West. Like, I agree with him on certain things, but like, the fact that he even like entertained the idea of running for the People's Party gave me like such massive red flags. That like, I don't know. From what I heard, he starts with the LGBT community and wants to end poverty and homelessness. I mean, yeah. So do we. That was a red flag for sure and a mistake. Yeah, which shows he doesn't investigate who like he hangs out with. So who's he gonna select for, like, I don't know, a potential cabinet or potential advisors? If he doesn't investigate which party he's even deciding to run on, what makes me think that I can trust like his judgment when it comes to like picking the right people to make things go, to make things happen? And like, here's another question. Why not primary? Because like, let's be honest, Cornel West isn't doing this run to win. Okay, Cornel West isn't making this presidential run to win. This is supposed to be a messaging campaign, right? He's doing this to make a point. Why not get on the biggest platform you can and primary Biden from the left? If it was really a messaging campaign, why would you go? Like, have you seen an ad for the Green Party? I haven't.
Impactful is the influx on Mexicans who live here.
What would happen if all of the dentists and doctors went away? What would happen to the townspeople and the locals?
He will die. He will die.
Hold it. Biden, hold it. Biden, hold it. Open. Biden, hold it. Open. Okay. I'm gonna show you with a mirror. Okay, open a little bit.
I'm in postal code 21970 in Los Algodones, Mexico, aka Molar City. It's a place about 10 miles from Yuma, Arizona, and its economy is synonymous with dental tourism.
What's a dentist? Don't know. I have to pay a fuck ton of money. to make sure I have dental care. Something that shouldn't even cost the amount that it does, because it doesn't in literally everywhere else. Literally, they charge me $1,700 for something that I have to do, by the way. I've been meaning to schedule that, but that's besides the point. They're trying to charge me $1,700 for a procedure that the insurance company, without insurance, wanted to charge me $5,000. So wait, you're saying that like you're literally making these numbers up. So you're saying that like if I didn't have this magical card, the procedure would be $4,000 less. Okay, and then furthermore, it's even cheaper probably to buy a plane ticket and do this here because it doesn't cost that. West Precision directs any third-party candidate knows that one or both of the parties will get upset at the idea of them taking votes, and that this taste is usually enough to warrant some kind of policy concession. Imagine 3 million people picked West under a banner of healthcare reform. The Democrats would need to act. In the Dem primary, though, they don't, because all they got to do is win in their House vote. Maybe, but maybe they could also see that as a non-threat. I don't know. It'd have to be such a ground what is it? Grassroots movement that that you would have to be forced to negotiate, but I don't know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, like, the choices are simple, right? I'm being literally extorted. The choices are being simple. Either I pay the money, or I let this continue worsening. It's your money or your health, dude. That's it. I'm literally being fucking robbed. Your money or your health.
As soon as you enter the town, you have your choice of optometrists, pharmacists, cosmetic practitioners, and dentists, the town's primary financial driver.
But that's my point. The insurance has negotiated a reduced price. The real reason you need insurance in America, yes, it sucks, but until it changes, you have to play the game or go outside the system. Yeah, so that's exactly my point. They literally made that number up. They negotiated a number that they made up to make it sound scary. And then, like, you end up paying an over-bloated price anyways, even with insurance. Even with insurance, $1,700 for the procedure that that I'm having for for dental care. It's not $1,700. And the fact that, like, they negotiate, like, from $5,000 to $1,700, that makes no damn sense. It's literally an arbitrary number that I'm sure, like, they stack that number on purpose. And, like, my fucking premium went up too. For no reason. For no fucking reason. Makes no damn sense. But until it changes, you have to play the game. Yeah, well, yeah, I have to. I kind of need healthcare. Okay? Yeah, everyone has to, or the other option is, you suffer. That's it. That's literally your only two options. Or actually, you have three options. Sorry. You either pay a fuck ton of money, only to pay a fuck ton of money on top of that. You suffer, or you get into massive medical debt, which is the idea of medical debt. It's fucking ludicrous to begin with, to even have that concept. But, like, that's your options. You either suffer, you pay a fuck ton of money on top of a fuck ton of money that you already give these fucking people, the insurance companies, or you get into medical debt, or you get into massive medical debt. Medical doctors charge on the same charge on the claim 200% to 250 just so that they can show costs have gone up so they can renegate. Yeah, like none of this should even be a thing. None of this should even be a thing. Like insurance shouldn't be a thing.
Driver. Many U.S. visitors here cross the border on foot. Traveling from the U.S. is easy if you can afford to get here. But the option is entirely out of reach for the poorest U.S. residents.
Okay, up and a little bit. Okay, all the blue spots are there.
It's what Charles Keene, a 60-year-old California resident, is inspecting the extensive dental work Dr. Paula Duque has done on him after years of pain and failing oral health.
I had, in January, effectively 28 teeth removed. I had 10 implants installed along with whatever grafting.
I'm pretty sure that, like, if fucking, like, this dude had all the preventative care necessary, a lot of this could have been avoided. I'm just saying.
The doctor felt was appropriate.
How much did you pay here for all the work?
In 19,000 plus or minus.
How much would it have cost you in San Jose?
55,000 plus or minus.
I mean, my dude had to take a trip to Mexico to save $30,000 for the same procedure. Explain to me why, like, you know, where the disconnect is here. Explain. Preventive care is so important, but let's not, because fuck people. Correct. Like, again, the only answer is, like, we need some kind of universal healthcare system, period, full stop. Like, privatized insurance is fucking garbage, and quite frankly, should never even exist, period. But I'm just saying, a universal healthcare system is the answer. Is literally the answer. That's it. That's it. That's the answer. Why are you privatizing something that is necessary? This isn't like a fucking commodity. This isn't like fucking a TV. This isn't like a new fucking computer or new phone you can buy. This is literally like your health.
This desert town is an oasis of medical care for U.S. residents priced out at home. A home with the world's most expensive healthcare system.
Do you think you'll ever do any of your dental care in the U.S. ever again?
I mean, I'm a veteran. I pay for veteran insurance, but a dental crown after with insurance is like $800.
$800 fucking dollars, bro.
Here's after insurance, my out of pocket. Here's $210.
Mexico is one of the top 10 countries for medical tourism.
The volume of the gum pushes up.
Okay.
But after they cement it, they won't move.
Dental care is extremely important because going without it can lead to things like heart disease. Dr. Paola says this work is fundamental health care.
Yeah, of course. It's as fundamental as like you going to like a general checkup every year or some shit. Like, yeah, dude, this is about as fundamental as you, like, I don't know, if you're like an older guy that you have to, do your yearly exams for cancer. Like that's all of this is just as fundamental and ends up being cheaper down the road. Like 12, well, how much did the guy pay? 22,000 is what he paid? Like, imagine like getting the preventative care that you need and not having to spend that 22,000. It would bring down costs massively. I'm just saying. It would bring down costs on the healthcare provider side too, because you're not fucking doing like massive extensive dental work. You're just doing like more preventative measures. Anyways, I think like because I have to get going, I think the point is made. Texas, we're going to fly through some of these. Texas jury orders man to pay ex-girlfriend $1.2 billion in revenge porn case. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Good. Why the fuck are you doing that? Like, a 2015 Texas law makes it a crime to share intimate visual material without a person's permission and with the intent to harm them, what is known as revenge porn. If found guilty in criminal court, the crime is punishable by up to a year in jail and $4,000 fine. So basically, this guy was a complete piece of shit and attempted to take advantage of this woman, and now this dude's pretty screwed. So good. $1.2 billion in damages. Good. Don't do that shit. That is abusive as fuck. Yeah, the fuck around and find out. Exactly. Sam Bankman-Fried used $100 million in stolen FTX funds for political donations. And by the way, this is for both Republican and Democratic donations and ways of hiding said donations. How about just move on with your life? Jeez, yeah, like the guy I guess couldn't, and now he's on the hook for 1.2 billion. So honestly, like the dude, if you're that like, if you're showing that kind of like behavior, that's some like weird fucking like predator shit. All right, you're literally like putting fucking like intimate pictures or videos or whatever. Like, bro, come on, man. So basically, dude was found that he was playing around with campaign finance money and attempting to conceal that $100 million to both Democrats and Republicans. Surprise, no surprise there. All right, folks, let's get into this because I do have to get going. Georgia charges Trump and former advisors in the 2020 election case. The indictment finally dropped yesterday. The former president was hit with a sweeping fourth set of criminal charges on Monday when a Georgia grand jury issued an indictment accusing him of efforts of overturning the 2020 election loss to Democratic candidate Joe Biden in Georgia. The charges brought by Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis added to the legal woes facing Trump. Yada, yada, yada. The sprawling 98 indictment listed 19 defendants and 41 criminal counts in all. All of the defendants were charged with racketeering, which is used to target members of organized crime and carries a penalty of up to 20 years in prison. The other defendants, Mark Meadows, Trump's former White House chief of staff, lawyers Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, the Kraken lady, several of the fake electors, here, I've got all the names somewhere. Happy Indictment Day, since it happened like at 11:30. Yeah, it did. Last night it dropped. Bring on the mugshot and trial streams. Yes, supposedly there will be both. So the full list of the people who are being charged are Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, John Eastman, Kenneth Chesebro, a Trump lawyer, Jana Ellis, another lawyer, Robert Cheeley, another lawyer, Mike Roman, the Trump campaign official, a Trump campaign official, David Schaefer, the Georgia GOP chair, who acted as a fake elector, Stephen Lee, who's a pastor who tried to intimidate election workers, Harrison Floyd, the leader of Black Voices for Trump, Trevian Cuddy, the publicist who is tied to the intimidation of election workers, Sidney Powell, Kraken lady, Kathy Latham, a fake elector, Scott Hall, which is tied to the Coffee County election system breach, which was part of this whole thing, Misty Hampton, the supervisor of that Coffee County, and Ray Smith, which is another Trump campaign attorney. The question is makeup or no makeup. Nobody takes mugshots like me. Lawyers for those named either declined to comment or did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The case stems from a 2021 phone call, the very perfect phone call, to top election official Brad Raffensperger to find enough votes to reverse his loss, which Raffensperger declined to do so. Trump supporters did the insurrection. We know that. The indictment cites a number of crimes that Trump and his associates alleged commit, including falsely testifying to lawmakers that election fraud had occurred and urging state officials to violate their oath of office by altering the election result. I mean, it's literally in the fucking phone call. Prosecutors also cited the breach of voting system in a rural Georgia county, the Coffee County, and the harassment of an election worker who became the focus of the conspiracy theories, which these people were listed there. It also makes a mention of an alleged scheme to subvert the U.S. electoral process by submitting false slates of electors, which some of them are listed in that indictment. People make up the electoral college that elects the president and vice president. The indictment reaches across state lines, saying that Trump advisors, including Giuliani and Meadows, advanced the conspiracy by calling officials in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and elsewhere seeking to change the outcome of those states. Trump has denied any wrongdoing, of course, and says it's politically motivated. It's not. He faces a New York State trial. Okay, yeah, we don't care. This is Stormy Daniels. The third indictment, which we saw, Georgia, once a reliably Republican state, has emerged as one of the handful politically competitive states that can determine the outcome of presidential elections. Trump persists in falsely claiming that he won the 2020 election, although dozens of court cases and state probes have found no evidence to support his claim. Strategists said that while the indictments could bolster Republican support for Trump, they may hurt him in next year's general when he will have to win over more independent-minded voters. His lead over Republican presidential rivals have widened since the New York charges in April, according to the Reuters Ipsos polling. But in a July Reuters Ipsos polling, 37% of independents say the criminal case made them less likely to vote for him, compared to the 8% who said more that were more likely to vote for him. Willis's investigation drew on testimony from Trump advisors, including Giuliani, who urged state lawmakers in December of 2020 not to certify the election. The Republicans, state officials like Raffensperger and Governor Brian Kemp, who refused to echo Trump's false election claims. While many Republicans officials have echoed Trump's false election claims, Kemp and Raffensperger have refused to do so. Raffensperger said there was no factual basis for Trump's objections, while Kemp certified the election results despite pressure from within his party. Trump has been mired in legal trouble since leaving office. Apart from the criminal case, okay, I wouldn't care. Trump is due to face trial in October in a civil case. Oh yeah, the the Trump organization. Trump's company was fined $1.6 million for tax fraud. No surprise there. Okay, yeah. So this one's the real big one, folks. This one is a serious one. And I hope that maybe other states should launch their investigations. Given the fact that other states were mentioned here, specifically the people being charged made mentions of other states, which could maybe be the basis of other investigations in the future. I don't know. Hopefully, because all of these people need to face accountability. Yes, there's definitely more than one. Yeah, all of these fuckers need to be held accountable. And this one in particular is certainly a case that we're gonna watch, because like it is wild that a former president can literally try to so brazenly attempt to overturn the results of an election. I mean, the dude literally went to the Secretary of State and asked him to find the votes necessary. Which is ludicrous. So definitely this will be a case that we are going to follow very closely. All right, and to end it in a good meme, of course, Tim Pool. Does anybody think that this will stop pro-Trump sentiment in this country? No, I don't give a shit about pro-Trump sentiment. It's always going to remain the same. The only path forward is escalation. No? What? What are you talking about? That's what he thinks should happen. Either Trump is a cult leader trying to overthrow the U.S., which he is, question mark. I mean, literally there's evidence of him doing that, or Democrats are engaged in seditious conspiracy to steal power. None of that happened. Take your pick. Either way, it will be escalation on their part. Like, you can't both sides just because one side is literally fucking delusional on this issue. Literally delusional. Outside of reality. The only people that are going to escalate this is the far right. That's it. Those are the only people who are going to escalate this. Everybody else who lives in reality can see with their own eyes what happened. He is basically telling his followers that the only path is escalation. He's the one that's putting gasoline on this shit. And if you think like holding this guy accountable for doing the literal things he's being accused of, then that's not escalation, dude. Going through the process of investigations and then presenting the evidence to a grand jury and then have enough evidence so that the grand jury can issue out indictments, like, that's not escalation, dude. That's just going through the fucking process. If you think like just going through the legal process is fucking escalation, I don't know what to tell you, man. Anyways, I mean, what else can we expect from Beanie Person? From Beanie Man over here? Because Simple will have to work if Trump loses energy? Nah, he's got that grift. He's got that grift on lock. Tim Pool's not gonna... Tim Pool's fine. Tim Pool's fine. Tim Pool's got that beanie grift on lock. All right, folks, I gotta get out of here and get some food. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. We will definitely keep an eye out on all these cases, particularly the one about the Georgia election and the January 6th case that dropped 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. I don't remember. It was relatively soon, relatively recent. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on that, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Michael Hassler. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heat, for keeping it chill in the chat. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for the subscriptions and whatnot. You guys are the biddies. Thank you. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. If you guys enjoy the content and want to help the channel, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you go on the YouTubes, as Michael Hassler posted the link there. Hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Alio. A-Bond. Later. And take care. Thank you. Echo, thank you, A-Bond. Echo Wrestler Dragon. Wolfglen, thank you. James Napper, thank you. Pikmin, thank you for stopping by. Disco Panzer, Heat, T-Bird, thank you. Moper. I appreciate it. Thank you. See if I got anybody else. Sharpie Diesel, thank you. Appreciate it. Oculus, thank you. My Pedal Meatbag, thank you. Conscious Canuck, Zachap, thank you. Gata Naranja, thank you. I think I got it. Read and Rap, thank you for mixing it up in the chat. I think I got everybody. Yeah, I think so. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out. Thank you guys so much. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.